No.
Bro, it's been a long time coming. How you
Has
been?
it? For me?
Nah, I really wanted to have you on, man. It's pretty cool that you were able to come.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciate that, man. So let's get into.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 18.
Wow.
Yeah. 18.
That's the typical like Middle Eastern like you look way older than you are.
Really?
You know what I mean?
You reckon?
Bro, yeah.
I look a lot younger.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, I thought you were like, because when we were talking before, you said, oh, I just got out of high school. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, oh, just got out. I thought you were like 21, 22.
Fuck, really?
You know what it is?
What?
It's like it's the heavy stubble.
The
you
what?
know, you got the 21-year-old stubble. You know what I mean? The facial stubble. You know?
Yeah, I see.
You don't have 18-year-old stubble because it's thick and it's firm, you know? Whereas 18-year-old, it's like, typical 18-year-old is like soft and fluffy. Yours is like, you can grate cheese on your face. You know what I mean?
Fucking
but it's that like Middle Eastern, you know?
Yeah, I see.
I'm a grown-ass man.
Yeah. Man, to be honest, what we really want to talk about at these, like this whole podcast, the whole situation is like, talking about people's journeys, like how they've come about. Yeah. And like, you have a pretty unique coming from like an East Asian background and being a comedian, which is, it's like in that sort of community, either a doctor, engineer, lawyer. You chose a sort of unique path, and fuck, it's like.
Well, what do your parents want you to do?
My parents.
Because you're just out of high school.
For me, they know that they want me to pick. They're not really forceful, but obviously they want me to go to these safe jobs. But for me, I'm more into business, startups, innovation. And they realize that, and they realize that I want to be the best in that field, and they're like, do whatever you want. But for a lot of my mates in my community, it's like, fuck, it's like
no options.
You either go
medical school or you go engineering.
So how did you start in this comedy? Like, where did it all begin? What's the beginning phases?
So it began when Russell Peters blew up on YouTube. Russell Peters,
I know
right?
Russell Peters.
So Russell Peters was like the first comedian to actually use YouTube properly. Yeah. Like there was never before Russell Peters there wasn't really any stand up on YouTube. There were just little clips, but usually the clips were like grainy or shot badly, like there was nothing really good. And comedians that were like, oh, when we get our comedy special, it goes on HBO or it goes on Comedy Central. And no one really thought about the internet. They were just like, this is my trajectory. I become a comedian. I do the rounds. I then get Letterman or
do like
Kimmel.
Specials and stuff,
those late night shows? I do like 6 minutes on Kimmel or 6 minutes on Fallon, right? And then off the back of that, I get a special on Comedy Central. And that's it. No one would then put their special online because YouTube is just kind of popping, right? So then Russell Peters puts his special online and it blows up, and Russell Peters becomes the highest earning comedian in like a week, right? Because he goes from doing like 1,000-seat theaters to selling out 10,000-seat arenas, like that, right? So then that happens, and then that opens up the floodgates to everyone putting their comedy online because they see Russell Peters succeeds. And when those floodgates opened is when I turned like 17. So when I became a teenager is when stand-up was everywhere, right? So then when that happens, I become obsessed with stand-up. Like, because 2 years ago, stand-up wasn't on the internet. The only way you see stand-up is that maybe at 9:30 at night on Channel 4, you'll see like Eddie Murphy's special from the 80s. That's it, right? Or Chris Rock's or whatever. So then I became obsessed with stand-up from 17 to 19. Like every day after school, I'd come home, do whatever I need to do, and then I would just be on my family computer, just watching stand-up. Or constantly. So then I just when I was like 18 or 19, I decided, I want to be a stand-up now. Like I love comedy. That's all I think about. So I'm gonna do stand-up. And I told my mom. I remember my mom was the first one I was gonna tell, because like the Middle Eastern parent, you go to the mom first. You don't go to the dad first. You go to the mom first. She's usually softer. So you go to the mom. It was like one of those moments where you tell. So I told her in the car when we were driving somewhere. I told her in the car I want to be a comedian. And she just didn't say anything for like 3 minutes. She was like silent for 3 minutes. And I look at her and there's like a tear coming down her face. She's crying. She's crying that I want to be a comedian. And I can tell she's like destroyed. Here's the thing, man. Like, when did your parents come to New Zealand? What year?
2004.
2004?
Yeah.
What was their situation in Afghanistan?
So we were refugees when we came here. So we fled you know, it was like life on the line.
Same with my parents.
Yeah.
Same with my parents, but my parents came in the 80s as refugees.
Life on the line. So like I get it now. Like my parents come here and they live in a country where there's so many barriers to success, right? And then you come to a country where there's no barriers to success. The only barrier to success is laziness. That's it, right?
That's the only barrier.
The lack of like attitude, hard work, all this stuff. Yeah.
And in their mind,
they're like, well, we've come to this country, escape the country where if we had you there and we raised you there, who knows what would have happened? And we come here, you can do whatever you want, and you choose comedian?
You know what I mean? I get it.
Well, did they think that comedian, like, you know, on a sort of status spectrum, comedian was the...
It's nothing to me. It's nothing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's doctor, there's engineer, then there's accountant, then there's like... You know, like, my mom was even like, just be a
nurse, you know? Just be something, you know?
Yeah.
Anything. Manage a McDonald's, you know, like something with like a regular paycheck and you know, like that kind of stuff.
You can like pay a mortgage, and she thought, no, you can't do that as a comedian. So I get it. I was mad then, now I'm not mad at how tough my parents were on me. Because you have to come from a place of understanding. You can't just be mad, right? 100%. So I get it. So I told my mom, and she was like, okay, like, sure, do it, but I'm not super happy about it, but I can see I'm not going to change my mind. So then I went in, so I flew to Auckland. I was in Christchurch at the time.
So you lived in Christchurch at this time?
Kind of. So my parents, when I finished high school, my dad and my family moved to Christchurch when I was like 18 for a new business venture.
Okay.
So yeah, I was kind of in Christchurch with them.
Were you like doing stand-up at this time, like
no,
at the clubs?
I haven't done a single gig.
Anything.
Nothing.
And you decided you want to do this for Okay,
yeah. You're a dumbass, bro.
No, it's like, you know, you don't, you know, usually you probably do it, but then now,
I know,
I
know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I tell them, I'm 18 or 18.
I haven't done a single gig. When I turned 19, I go, I'm going to move to Auckland. So that's why I say I was kind of in Christchurch, because I was half in, half out of Christchurch. I was already kind of thinking I'm going to leave, right? So I go to Auckland. I enter a raw comedy competition at the Classic Comedy Club on Queen Street.
Okay.
The first heat of the competition is my first gig ever. So I do alright, I make the semis, do alright, make the finals.
And it's your first time?
This is my third gig.
Okay,
my third gig in, I'm in the finals of the competition in front of 400 people.
Jeez.
At the town hall in Auckland, the central CBD. I don't win. I'm in the final with 7 other people. I don't win, but that's fine. That getting to the final was enough it was enough to open the door. So now a few people know who I am. The owner of the Classic knows who I am. A few key people know who I am. And then from there I just go. I don't look back. I'm like, the door is open enough for me now that I can try and step in. And I just started I just started gigging non-stop. Every gig I could get, I would get it. Like, even if it was in front of 4 people, 2 people, 100 people, 5 people, I didn't care. I'll take everything.
So you're like hungry for that experience.
I was annoyingly hungry. Like I was like constantly badgering people, constantly like messaging people, constantly calling people, being like, "Hey bro, I heard you started a gig. Can I get on that? Hey bro, I heard you started a little open mic. Can I get on that?" I would just go everywhere. As much stage time as I could get, I would get it, and then that's it.
Yeah,
I was hooked.
All right.
Yeah.
But how? Okay, how many years was that?
That whole story that I told you.
Yeah.
That was, I became obsessed with stand up at 17.
Okay.
18, 19. I told my mom I wanted to be a stand up. 20. I did my first gig.
True.
Yeah.
And what were you like? You know, working, studying at the time? Nothing. So full on.
Yeah.
Fuck. So how was it when you flopped? When those days when the gig didn't work out? You never flop.
No, I'm kidding.
I was like, okay.
Nah, I mean, there's been a lot of flops.
How was that though? How do you keep your spirits high? Like, you know, you're putting everything on the line for this, and how do you coach yourself? Like, fuck, let's go, keep going. Like, how does that mental framework work?
I was really lucky. I had a few like experienced comedians tell me some really salient pieces of advice early on that gave me a lot of perspective. Because I've seen, it's like in like any industry, when it doesn't go smoothly as people want, lots of people fall off the wayside, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw a lot of people do that. I saw a lot of people start with me and then disappear like a year later or 2 years later. It was common, right? It still is common. Now when I go, sometimes I'll just go watch rookie gigs just because I like watching. I like watching people struggle. I like watching people flounder, not because I enjoy their struggle. I'm not kind of sick. I'm not a sick like, feel the pain.
Fuck
No, I'm not like that. I just love seeing people begin the process like I did and catch the bug. You know what I mean? Okay. Catch the love. Like I like seeing that. It's like when like LeBron goes and watches high school players play ball. Yeah. You know, it's like you like seeing.
You see the journey, the start of the journey.
Yeah. Okay, and there's something really heartwarming about you. You know, you started that journey as well. I'm not saying I'm the LeBron of comedy, but what was my point? Oh, how do you stay motivated? Yeah. So I was really lucky that I had a few comedians say things to me that kept me positive. And one of the things that a comedian told me was Ursula Carlson. Do you know Ursula Carlson?
No.
She's a South African stand-up comedian who kind of got really big in New Zealand, and now she's kind of taken her talents to Australia, and now has gotten really big in Australia. Oh, okay. So she's killing it. Okay. She's a great comedian who has got a massive audience. Yeah. Really hard worker. But she told me one time I did a gig, I think I'm a year in, and she told me, and I did a gig, and it was rough. Like, it was like pin drop silence.
Fuck.
Yeah, but I was feeling good because I just did like 3 gigs that week, and I was crushing. And then I just came on the stage, and then that audience just was not clicking with me, and I wasn't experienced enough to know how to change direction when something's not working. You know, like when you're a year in, once you're on the road, you just stay on the road. You don't change direction because that requires experience. Yeah, right? Yeah. So I just stayed on the road. Got off, was like, damn, like I was bummed. And she goes, listen, you want to be a stand-up? Like, do you want this to be your job? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, then snap out of it, because if you want this to be your job, this is just one drop in the ocean of gigs that you're doing. Fuck. So does it really matter? Yeah. And I was like, and with that perspective, I was like, oh, no, not really. Because if you get bummed about every bad gig that happens in the ocean of gigs that you're going to do, then you're never actually going to let yourself progress. You just have to see it as one small stepping stone in the massive path that you're walking, right? Yeah. So that's still important. Each stepping stone makes up the path, and without the stepping stones, there is no path. But not each stepping stone is not that important. Yeah. And she what was really interesting was she said that not only does that apply to bad gigs, that also applies to good gigs. When you do good gigs, she goes, this is my philosophy. I do the gig, whether it's good or bad, 10 a.m. the next morning, I've forgotten about it. No matter how good, no matter how bad it was. Because you're just trying to move forward, right? So that has stuck with me for the rest of my career. Yeah. That's my mentality now for the rest of my career. So
what happens? Okay, do you learn from it? Do you learn how to approach it differently next time?
Yeah.
So do you just... Because I'm not a comedian, I've never been sort of into that. Yeah. I haven't seen much of it. Yeah. So when you're performing, do you have like, is it memorized or what is it? Like how do you do it?
It's a mix. It's a mix of memorized and I think when you first start, it's mostly memorized. When you first start doing comedy, it's like 95% memorized because you're just trying to figure out how to even do it, right? Yeah. As you get more experienced, you can like. Now I'm 9 years in. An example of this is I'm 9 years or 8. Oh yeah, 9 years in.
Fuck.
I can think of a topic that I think is funny, write some notes about it, go on stage, and just do it. But I've only got like some bullet points about what I think is funny. Yeah. And I just do it. Yeah. And if it's funny, I keep it and I keep working on it. Yeah. I keep going on stage and like crafting it and molding it. Yeah. If I think it doesn't have legs, I throw it away. Yeah. But a rookie comedian, that's suicide. You know, like you don't have the tools yet. You don't have the tools. Yeah. You don't have the ability to change direction. You don't have the ability to change your tone so that the audience half of comedy is getting the audience to buy into the idea that you're presenting to them, right? And
what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by the idea?
So
I'm the style of comedy you're doing, or
no? Well, kind of. Okay. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of a joke that I'm working on right now. Okay. It's half baked. Okay. But the joke is that I don't drink and I never have had alcohol in my life.
Yeah. Likewise, brother. Likewise.
Really?
Likewise. Yeah.
So the joke is that not drinking my whole life has prepared me for childhood, right? So that's the first idea you need the audience to understand, right? And then they understand that idea. Then I go, so they go, okay, how? Then I go, so because when you don't drink and you're a teenager, what's the main job? And then the audience usually clicks that it's sober driver, right? So you go, you're usually a sober driver. And you go, sober driving has prepared me for parenthood better than anything else has. So as I'm telling you this joke, all I'm doing is giving you ideas, right? And the only way a joke works is how clearly does the audience understand these ideas so that the punchline is the funniest it can be, because there's no questioning in the audience mind. They get it. So I give them all these ideas. It's clear as day. And then I say, because sober driving has prepared me for parenthood. And I go, because driving around your drunk high school friends is the same as driving around your children. And then I do an act out where an act out is you act on stage where I'm pretending to talk to my child and my drunk friend at the same time. And I'm like, get in the car. Where are your shoes? Why are you crying? Get in the car. Put your belt on. I don't know if Jurassic Park is real. Just get in the car, bro. Like, maybe we'll get McFlurry. Just, but they don't laugh at that unless there's real clarity in their mind of what the idea of the joke is.
So you've already built that. You've built the sort of reaction you want from them. You've built around it.
100%.
And then you sort of lure them into the punchline.
Yeah, exactly. But when rookie comedians, the biggest mistake I see is that there is not enough clarity as to what you want them to understand so that the punchline is funny. You haven't made them go, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you hit them with the punchline, they go, we get it. Yeah. We're laughing. That's the biggest mistake. Yeah. Have you seen Chris Rock do stand-up before?
Yeah, I have. I watched his special the other day.
Watch it again and watch how many times he repeats the idea. Not the joke, the idea. Yeah. Like, this is probably, I don't know if this is one of Chris Rock's idea, but say Chris Rock is like, black women be crazy. Like, say that's an idea. Yeah. He'll say black women be crazy 4 more times.
Yeah, I've heard that. It does it start, middle, and sort of at the end.
Yeah.
And you sort of, I heard that before. Yeah. And then you keep saying it. Yeah.
And all he's trying to do is make sure the idea is clear as day in your mind so that there's no confusion on the punchline.
So do you have a specific theme you're after in each one? Or is that an idea or theme? Like, is there specific themes or ideas in each gig?
No.
Or each thing?
No.
So it's different?
It can
is there like a specific story like each act has, or is it?
It can depend. Some sets or some gigs you can have a through line which connects everything. Some gigs I've done where it's just like, here's a joke, here's another joke, here's another joke, here's another joke, and these are all just things in my life. Yeah. You know?
How do you come? Like, it's fucking funny, but how do you come up with these jokes? Like, it's so odd and like, it's so relatable as well. Like a lot of the jokes is very relatable. Like things like comedians talk about. It's like, oh fuck, that's happened.
Yeah.
But how do you sort of formulate that?
That's a hard question, man. Like, every comedian is different. I guess all I can say is my process.
Yeah.
My process is finding an idea and then constantly digging into that idea until I find the humor in it. So, like, the joke I just told you that I'm trying to work on at the moment. Yeah. The idea was, I don't drink, and I never have. That was the idea, right? Then I dug further and go... and you constantly ask questions about the idea, and those questions allow you to dig. So you go, I've never drunk, and I still don't. How does that make me feel? Then you answer your own question. Makes me feel this way.
And so you're writing this when you're doing this?
I'm writing this down. Yeah. I go, it makes me feel this way. And then another question, what things how did it impact your life, right? And I go, I never made dumb decisions. But sometimes I felt left out. Yeah. Or a lot of the times I had to be the sober driver. Yeah. And then I go, oh, there we go. There's something funny. Ask another question. How sober driving affected your life? Ask the same question to that. Oh, it made me a good parent. I've kind of fast-tracked that. It didn't take me that quickly to find the joke.
But that's the
that's
process.
kind of the process.
Yeah.
You've asked the question about the idea constantly. New question. And you go deeper and deeper into the idea, and then you start finding, oh, that's funny. You start finding the jokes.
And then what you do next is you go and perform it and see how the reaction goes? Or?
Yeah. You
and
go and
is that
perform
how
it.
you mold it?
Yeah, you perform it.
Yeah.
It could be horrific. It could be great.
Yeah.
To me, a joke usually takes about 6 months to get right. Not to get funny. It's a process.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's a process.
So the way you perform it,
when you see a comedian do it on their special, on their HBO special, it's taken them 6 months, a year, 2 years to get it to where you're watching it. Yeah. Jeez, 100%.
This is such. It'll be a long process then.
Yeah. Some jokes it can take a month because it's just so ready-made. You know, it just came to you and it's perfect. You try it and you go, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And then you do it a couple more times and you're like, nah, that's ready to go.
Yeah.
You can just feel it. But a lot of jokes take a while to really. Yeah, they might laugh the first time, but just because they laugh doesn't mean that that's the perfect joke. There might be so much more you can pull out of it. You know, like.
So it's like when you produce a joke, you write it. So every night for the next couple months, you try.
Or as many nights as you
as
can.
many nights as you can.
Yeah, you try it and you mold it and you go, oh, I'm gonna throw this little gag in, see if it works.
So how many nights do you perform nowadays?
Nowadays,
because you have a new special coming up, eh?
Yeah,
I've got a new share. Yeah,
I've got a new hour coming out. First time I'm going to be performing is in Hamilton.
Right.
When does this come out?
This will come out maybe after that.
What date?
20-something of February.
Okay, so yeah, it'll come.
I'll post it on our Instagram.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll be in Hamilton on the 21st. But then after that, I'm gonna be performing it in Australia.
Okay.
And then Wellington or Auckland are the two big places I'm gonna be bringing it to.
Whereabouts in Auckland?
Auckland is gonna be at Q Theatre on Queen Street.
Okay. Yeah.
Upstairs.
Oh.
And then Wellington, I can't remember where it's gonna be. Some theatre.
So when you look back at your process, you've come a long way in 9 years. What's been the valuable lessons you've learnt?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned is honestly, the only thing I think that I can take from comedy and other people can apply it in every other, whatever field they're in, is work ethic. And I know a lot of the time that can feel like the cliche answer because so many people are like, it's work ethic. You got to work hard, you know? Hard work beats talent. And it does sound cliche, but based on my experience, things are cliche because they're true.
Fuck yeah.
Cliche means it comes up all the time and it's like, oh, here we go again. But it only comes up because people have experienced it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can attest to when I first started, I would hustle and grind for every gig. I wanted to be on stage as much as possible so that I could get better because I knew the only way I'm going to get better is doing it.
How did you support yourself at this time? Because you were in Auckland.
Yeah, I was married at this time, by the way, as well.
Fuck!
Yeah, I'm still married. Yeah.
At that time?
Yeah.
Shit, so it must have been pretty hard then.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah. It was tough. Luckily, my wife had a job for a while. So she supported me for the first bit of being a stand-up where I was like making no money and now we've swapped. So now we've got kids and she's just a mum and enjoying life and enjoying being with the kids and she doesn't have to worry about working and now so we've like flipped it around. But yeah, work ethic is the thing that I can say like, man, I don't know if all these other things I've learned can apply to you because they feel very like comedy specific, but this is the thing I know that can like work for anyone where you just like, all these new comedians, they come up to me and they're like, oh man, Pax, like how can we get on TV or how can we make a living doing stand-up or how can we, you know, like do all this stuff. And I asked them like, how many gigs are you doing? And they're like, oh, just, you know, like, just like one a month, whenever. I'm like, what, homie, one a month? Like, you know, nothing's going to happen for you.
Yeah.
One a month, first of all, not enough people are going to see you. And second of all, you're not going to get good enough quick enough. One a month, it's going to take you 9 years to just get good, let alone great.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you never know who's going to be in the room. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
What do you mean by that? Like, what you never know?
You never know. No matter how small the opportunity may be, you never know what that opportunity will give you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I've done little gigs where there's like 6 people in the room, but the right person was in the room at that time, and I got a TV spot off it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that happens. And I feel like that stuff can apply to like lots of different career paths, where you might brush something off because you feel like it's little, it's small fish, you know. You're like, I don't need this. Yeah, it's whatever, man. I don't have to drive. I have to drive 40 minutes. This podcast.
Yeah.
How many listeners do you have?
Varies, but on each podcast.
Yeah.
So on Facebook about 300, 200. Yeah.
So I could, in my head, I could go, man, that doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Or I have to drive to Papakura to this Afghani's kid's dad's office and do his podcast. I could have that mentality. Yeah. But I don't. Yeah. I have the mentality of you never know. You don't know who listens to this kid's podcast.
100%. Yeah.
You know? You don't know what kind of I could get. You just don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing could come of it, but that's not. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity. It's a great way to contribute to your project. It's a great way for you could potentially contribute to my, you just have that mentality of, I'll do everything. Okay. And also you have to assess things and be like, maybe certain things are damaging for your career. Okay. You have to be smart enough to do that. Yeah. But if you know that it's not going to be damaging in any way, do it. So when comedians say...
So you're saying you have to be constantly in it, constantly finding opportunities, getting after it.
Always. Yeah. You always have to be in it, or else you're not going to grow. Yeah. You always have to be around the people that are in it.
Because I always see, some of my mates, some of my older people, they have ideas, they have, goals, dreams, but then you just see them doing the exact fucking opposite. Yeah. And you're like, okay, do you really want it, or do you just
do you like the idea
of it? Yeah. Which is very weird because, recently I'm sort of embarking on starting a business. Great. And I've always wanted to start a business. And it's always been an idea, the whole, you want to start your own
You know why? You know why? Why? It's because you're Middle Eastern. But not only because you're Middle Eastern, because you have I wouldn't say typical, but you have the real classic story of Middle Eastern family comes to New Zealand and they hustle and they start a business and they make something of themselves. Like my dad's the same.
Exactly.
My dad's the same.
But the thing is that I only was fascinated by the idea, but now when you actually do it, you realize, it's not as easy. Yeah. It's just, you just have to keep going every day. It's like another step. Yeah. And it's so slow. Like you want to have an like that, but it's like, it takes process. And you're like, fuck, and there are some days, even when I started this podcast, it was like some days I was like, fuck this shit. Yeah. Like, why the fuck am I doing it? Yeah. But then there are days you're like, let's fucking pump it. Yeah. But it's like going through that sort of mundane and then, not stopping. And I had Jason Psycho Sati the other day, and he was saying that it's perseverance. It's like constantly being patient and after it. Yeah. But like, it just shows from your career as well. Yeah. 9 years, fuck, that's mad.
And 9 years, I even feel like I'm still a young gun. Like I know comics that are like 25 years and 35 years in, who are amazing at what they do, right? Like 9 years is not. To some people it feels like a long time, but to me, I'm like.
To me, it's like that's half.
Yeah, of course.
Because I haven't lived that long.
Sure.
And then years sound like such a long time.
Yeah, man, it's perseverance, it's hard work, it's wanting to be in the arena, whatever your arena is, be in it, be immersed in it, doing it as much as possible, because that's the only way you grow. University, schools can only teach you so much.
That's true. And it's so sheltered though.
It is.
Because I just came out of high school, and now it's like, nobody gives a fuck if you do it or not. Don't do it. They're not on your back. They don't give a shit. Yeah. When you're out of school.
Yeah. No one's gonna tell you to go to class. Yeah. No one's gonna tell you to go to a meeting. Yeah.
And it's like shit. Like. Yeah. And then I think for some people that's a fucking it's hard. Like because you don't have that constant. But how do you stay motivated? What's the driving factor? What's behind this? Your accent,
I really like the idea because like related to the thing I was saying about work ethic and wanting to be in your field as much as possible. Yeah, is the idea that whatever you do is a marathon, not a sprint. You can't look at it like
powerful.
you can't look at it something. You can't look at it like a sprint because you're gonna burn out quick. You look at it like a marathon, so you can last a long time, right? So when you think of it as a marathon, the question of like, okay, how do you stay motivated comes up a lot, right? And I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. I'm not gonna act like every day I'm like, all right, here we go, 10 new jokes. Like I'm not like that. I have days where I sit around, go pick up my daughter from kindy, come back, go, all right, in an hour I'll do some work. And now an hour goes by, I don't really do some work. Yeah. You have those days. Okay. But then I do have the days where I get the groove, you know, I get the rhythm, and I'm writing heaps, and I feel the motivation.
In that flow state. Flow
state, yeah, that's yeah. I like that. I've heard that a couple of times. I like that idea. But I really like the idea of being someone who can contribute to the world with my craft. I don't like the idea of doing something just because you're doing it. And I also feel like this, I have to be careful with what I'm saying, because lots of people in the world don't have the opportunity to chase their dream. There's a lot of people who live in unfortunate circumstances. There's a lot of people who have like lots of kids, and their circumstance doesn't allow them, they didn't get the right education, they're in an environment that feels restrictive, so they work dead-end jobs, multiple dead-end jobs maybe. But that is also commendable, because you're doing what you have to do to get the job done. You're doing what you have to do to get the bills paid, and I commend that. You know, I have mad respect for that. But I'm a big believer in, even if that's your reality, you're in a dead-end job or whatever, you do whatever you do in a way that contributes to your environment. And the only way to do that is to be good at what you do, right? So as a stand-up, so then, okay, we take that idea and put it on with stand-up, right? The only way I can contribute to my society or the world as a stand-up is to be good at stand-up, to get to the peak of my career, right? To get to become one of the most respected stand-ups in the world, to become a stand-up that tours and does big theaters around the world, to be a stand-up who puts out a special and lots of people see it, so that what I'm saying can impact a lot of people, because I care about my stand-up meaning something, being funny, but also meaning something. Like at the moment, I'm working on a bit about how people badmouth refugees. Like when you bring in refugees, criminals are going to come here as well, or terrorists are going to come here as well. And I'm working on a bit right now that goes, homie, that's wrong. That's not the wrong. That's untrue. But the only way that bit that I care about is going to impact the most people is if I get good at my craft. And the only way I'm going to get good at my craft is constantly be doing it, hustling. So that it's less about the money. It's less about the fame. It's less about the recognition. It's less about the TV deals. And it's more about getting to the peak of my career, not for selfish reasons, but I can have more impact. I want to get to the peak of my career, and I want to make crazy money, not so I can have crazy money at the peak of my career, so I can bring up other people like me, and so that they can succeed as well. Because you probably know this, being a brown person, being a Middle Eastern person, being an Asian person, you're always on the back foot in a Western society. And
yeah, I'd say to an extent. To an extent, yeah.
For sure. And if I can be someone who opens the door a little bit for someone who is like me and feels like they can't get in the door, then that's what excites me. That's what makes me go, nah, don't stop. When I think about the money and stuff, that is nice, and it comes with the hard work.
Of course, yeah.
I don't want to act like I don't want to act like friggin' like Mother Teresa out here like.
Yeah, of course.
No, I'm Gandhi status with my friggin'. No, I'm not gonna pretend like I don't like the money. But the real thing that I love
it. Of course.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying like. The Middle Eastern is always in there, right? I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that's what really motivates me.
Yeah.
Is that stuff. The being able to be on like Chappelle's level, where when Chappelle puts out a comedy special, the world watches it, and what he says really impacts society, you know?
Yeah.
That's what makes me go, damn, like, I want to keep
what I've seen is like, you know, I've watched, you know, Joe Rogan, Chappelle, Hassan Minaj, all these, they have like they convey a bigger meaning, a bigger message.
100%.
You know, Chappelle's, he did a sort of joke on cops stopping him.
Yeah.
But there was a bigger meaning to that, you know?
Yeah.
And people that are cops that are listening to that, they realize that that's really a problem.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what I love about, you know, art in your form as well, is that you can convey such an abstract and complicated and political message in a way that people could really reciprocate with.
Yeah, 100.
And that's fucking powerful.
Yeah, man.
You know, not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on.
Yeah.
Is because let's dive into that.
Yeah.
What are the bigger meanings? Like,
what is my agenda?
Yeah, for these gigs.
Yeah.
What is the bigger meaning do you want to convey to New Zealand in general? What are the problems do you reckon it is?
I don't think that I have a clear idea of what the issues are. Like, I don't have a list at home of like, here are the problems, you know what I mean? Like, white people devil, like there's that, you know, like I'm not like that, you know? I just assess my life at the time. I assess my environment, and I think about what is frustrating me sometimes I even think about what am I happy about? You know, like I have a whole like 10 minutes about how much I love South Auckland, because I lived in South Auckland for a long time. How much I love South Auckland. And that bit is just about, it's celebratory, you know? It just celebrates South Auckland, but it's like a really funny bit. But then sometimes I'll sit down and go, what's annoying me right now? And I overheard two guys talking about, one guy said, if you let in the refugees, you let in the terrorists, right? And that frustrated me, because my father's a refugee, my mother's a refugee. So then that annoyed me, and that spurred me to go, you know what? I'm closer to the refugee community than these two white guys are. I'm going to shed some light, because that's what I care about. Yeah. That's what I care about right now. So that's kind of my approach. Is I let the world around me and how I feel about the world at that time kind of drive what I want to say. Yeah. So that refugee one is a really good example of that. Or like another bit I have, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's the bit that kind of went viral. It's my only kind of viral bit. But it's about how
9/11?
I had to... Huh?
It was about the 9/11 one?
Yeah.
Fuck, that was crack.
How I had to pretend to be something else.
Tell us the story, actually.
Well, if you go back and watch it, the joke is the story. But my reality was that I'm a South Asian Iranian kid, half Middle Eastern, half South Asian. And at that time, when 9/11 pops off, being those things is the uncoolest thing you could possibly be, to the point where you're like miserable. You don't want to go to school, right? So I literally, in my joke, I said that I pretended to be Tongan for all of primary school. And that's no joke. That's real.
Fuck.
Like, I told everyone I was Tongan. and people thought I was Tongan.
Well, you don't look not Tongan. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People were just like, that's just a Tongan that doesn't get fed enough. That's a Tongan that doesn't eat enough taro. You know what I mean? Like the skinny Indian-looking kid, but like, he's Tongan? Oh, okay. Yeah. You know? That's the Tongan that doesn't get the ball passed to him on the rugby field. Oh, skip pass? Another skip pass. Sweet. Yeah. So like, that was my reality, and that when I sat down and thought about what annoyed me, I remembered that time. I remembered how sad I felt, and then I remembered like, damn, like I actually worked hard to be Tongan, and so I started writing about that. So that's kind of like, I don't list down the things that I think are wrong, and I'm gonna tell the world. You know, like, it's more about how I feel about the world, and I wanna express myself and tell the world that I think these things. I'm highlighting what I think is inconsistent. With what I believe. And sometimes I'm highlighting what I love. Just depends on how I feel.
That's fucking powerful, because like, you know, you have such a good platform as well. To convey these ideas.
I think stand-up is one of the best platforms.
I think so. Like, you know, everyone's there. Like, and I think, you know, one of the best ways, this is what I talked about in that speech I did for the Baha'i community, is empathy. Yeah, man. As like, you can't tell someone they're wrong to their face, but you got to show them, you know, step in this shoe and see it from this perspective. You know, because if you go to a racist person, like a truly redneck fucking racist, like fuck the Muslims, all this shit. You can't be like, no, you're fucking wrong, like, because it'll just clash. But
nothing
if you're
actually moves.
But if you're like, you know, but have you looked at these Muslims? Have you seen these? And then you sort of create that dialogue, which is, you know, being Muslim, growing up, like, my mum had a lot of like abuse, my sisters, and a lot of the people in the community. Yeah. Like, fuck, I remember I was in.
Do they cover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the full, but
yeah.
So I was in Australia and we were on a holiday.
Yeah.
And we're at this lake. Everyone's having a good time. Me and my cousins. The the ladies on the other part, and they didn't know I was part of that. And I was sort of sitting down between these fucking rednecks. Yeah. Not fucking rednecks. But I was sitting down. And
you got to be understanding to these fucking rednecks.
Okay, I was there. And I was sitting down and I remember these two behind me. They were like, because this is when, that Melbourne thing?
Yeah.
Okay, this is exactly that time. Yeah. And in the radios, they were like, telling people if you see any suspicious behavior.
Are you in Australia at the time?
I'm in Australia. I'm sitting in there.
Yeah.
And I turned back and they were talking about my family there. All the women there. They're like, look at them. Yeah. They look like terrorists. Yeah. Let's call someone. Yeah. And I was sitting there. I was like, fuck. Yeah. This was the first time I actually heard or experienced such
hatred.
Such. And they were serious. They weren't joking about it. Yeah. They were like fucking serious. And I was like, man, that's fucking sad. Like, and that's when I saw that people, they're really fixing that mindset that, they think that way because they think this is the right way. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, but they haven't seen my family. They don't know my family. They don't know why we came to this country because of the same exact shit. Yeah. We were getting blown up. Yeah. We were getting slaughtered. Yeah. Like, they don't realize that. Yeah. And it's pretty sad. And for you to like use your platform and discuss topics like this is like fucking powerful.
Well,
man.
you hit it right on the head, bro. Like the whole idea of like being confrontational, I don't think has gotten anyone anywhere. But comedy, I feel like, is the least confrontational because once you get someone laughing, the barrier comes down. Once you get someone enjoying themselves and laughing, now they're more willing to listen. Yeah, I have a joke about how it's harder to get a job if you have a really ethnic name. It just straight up is harder. Yeah. And if you said that to someone straight up, if you said that to an employer straight up with no
they'd
humor,
be offensive. Yeah,
they'd cross their arms, they'd get closed off. Yeah, they'd be like, "What do you mean?" The conversation wouldn't actually move that far. But when you do it in a comedy setting, there's a couple of jokes, they start laughing about it, and then you bring up the idea that it's harder.
There's a seed there. Then they think about it. Yeah.
The barriers come down. Now they listen, and they don't even know that they've accepted the idea. You've just put it there.
Yeah.
Because they're having a good time, and then when they go away, that's when it starts going. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Maybe he's right. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't think about it after the gig. Yeah. But even if 1 out of 10 people think about it after the gig, I'm happy. You're contributing to something at least.
Exactly. Yeah. Were you always this funny in high school? Like, were you that funny kid, or what was your sort of? Because you have the funny kids, the sports kids. I
don't know. When comedians, when people interview comedians and the comedians are like, yeah, man, I was the class clown. Like, I don't know. I feel like everyone was funny in high school. Okay. When you hang out with your boys, and everyone's pretty funny. Yeah. Like, you get the one dry balls. Like, there's always one dry balls. But everyone has their moment. Of like being funny. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I was just another one of the boys that I was just funny. And I liked joking with the boys, and I liked laughing, and I liked listening to their jokes and laughing with them. So I don't know. I don't think I was like particularly the class clown. I do remember though. Primary school, I was quite shy. Intermediate, I started coming out of my shell. And then high school, because I went to quite a white high school, humor had to become like my way in, my way to like relate to everyone. So I do remember being a little bit more concerned with being funny. Like, I would at night think about like, what can I say?
Shit.
Yeah, okay. To like be funny because I wanted to kind of get into groups of people.
And that's fucking big in high school. Yeah. That is huge. Yeah. Like, in high school, like, you can just see when someone is just, doing something that they don't want to do in order to be in a sort of group that doesn't really like them or, appreciates them as who they are. Yeah. And it's quite sad in a way.
Yeah, the first 2 years of high school for me were really rough. Like, I didn't know who to hang out with. I was, like I said, a really white high school, so... I struggled to fit in, and then luckily, as I progressed through high school, I found like essentially all the brown boys just like stuck together, and then it was just like me and the brown boys.
Yeah.
And we just stuck together, and that was great. I felt like I didn't have to pretend anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was the extra funny guy. Honestly, stand up like and comedy. You know when people are like, oh, when they have a funny friend and they're like, man, you should do comedy. Yeah. But like, comedy's not just go out on stage and be a funny guy. Comedy is a craft.
Okay.
You have to learn the rules. You have to learn the tactics, the skills. It's a craft that you have to work on. It's like carpentry or a sport. Yeah. You got to get good at it. You can't just be the funny guy on stage. That can be the first building block. Like if you're naturally funny, then you're already one step ahead of the competition. Yeah. But to get good at stand-up, you have to learn the trade. Yeah. It's like a trade. Yeah. So that's why...
How many funny guys have you seen just fall off in comedy?
So many.
Yeah.
Easily around 20.
So everyone has sort of talent, like natural funniness.
Oh, you mean everyone that starts stand-up?
Do they?
Oh, some try stand-up.
Okay.
Like, heaps of people. Stand-up actually, like, attracts the crazies, bro. Yeah, like, it attracts the crazies. Like, there are some crazy people that want to do stand-up.
Okay.
But then, stand-up attracts all kinds of people. The people who they've never been funny in their life, but they're trying to do stand-up. People who are naturally funny, and they go on stage and they try it. People who are straight psychos, like all the different kinds of people try stand up. So that's another reason why I like going and watching the rookie shows, is because I just like to see, like, I like to try and like I'm betting on a game. Okay. I like to bet on who's gonna go somewhere. Okay. And it's just fun for me. Yeah. I'm like, nah, they're not gonna make it. Or even someone who comes on stage and they get mad laughs, and you can tell that they're the funny guy, but something in me goes, I don't think they're gonna stick at it. Yeah. I don't think they're gonna.
So how is comedy in New Zealand? Like the New Zealand platform, small.
It's new. We're only like, I would say that the entire industry is no more than 50 years old. 60 years old.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, it's small. Oh, yeah. Something like that.
So for people that are aspiring to, like, go into comedy, what bits of advice would you give?
I would say watch as much comedy as you can. Now,
specifically, what sort of comedy?
Anything, all of it. Watch. If you're a brown kid and you grew up watching Chappelle and Key and Peele and Chris Rock and Hassan Minaj, if you grew up watching these guys, go watch white people stand up. Go watch white people comedy. Everything. Go watch Joe Rogan. Go watch Monty Python. Go watch, like, the widest stuff you can find. Yeah. Expand. Like, go watch everything. Yeah. If you're a white dude who's only watched the white people stuff, go watch brown people stuff. If you're... I guess my point is, don't get boxed into one type of comedy. If you want to be a comedian, go watch everyone. Yeah. Because you're going to learn something from everyone. So that's my first tip, is just immerse yourself in it. And
what about any books or video? Is there any books?
I don't know.
Because I heard Stephen Pressfield's The Art of War, or the Art of War. It's about writing, and I don't know. There's some people. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I wouldn't say don't do it. Okay. I mean, if that is helpful to you, I never did anything like that, but that could be helpful.
What was helpful to you besides just watching videos?
So the first thing was watching, and then the second thing is write every day. So if you really want to get into comedy, write every day. And
when do you write specifically?
Being a dad now, it's a bit hard, so I write at random times. I write at real weird times, but whatever suits you.
And the duration of your writing time?
At least an hour. Give yourself an hour. Yeah. Write for an hour. If you feel like you're flowing, go as long as you want. If you feel like you're stuck, you don't have to push yourself, but try to hit an hour.
What do you write? Anything.
Just write anything. Anything that you think is funny.
Problems.
Everything.
It's like a journal in a way.
Here's the thing. If you write a page of jokes, or you think is the ideas that are funny, one of those things are going to work. That's kind of the rule of thumb. Okay. Even sometimes if you write 4 pages of things, one of those things are going to be funny. So you just got to generate. Yeah. Generate ideas, generate thoughts, I have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks of things written down. Yeah. I would say 70% of it is not good. 70% of it is unused. 70% of it just sits there.
But did you feel like each time you wrote, you just got better at conveying your ideas?
Now I can come up with a joke faster because I'm good at writing now, but it's only because I practice, Now I can come up with the idea I'm going to go in this direction. I know that direction's funny. In about 30 minutes, I've kind of come up with the joke, and I go try it. And if it's bad, I'll work on it again. But that comes with time. So for someone who's starting out and is young, write as much as you can. Just get paper to pen and just get stuff on page and just start trying to think of what you think is funny.
Yeah.
And start.
Were you ever nervous when you did your first
Yeah.
Like how do you
shit and bricks, bro? Like
how do you deal with that?
Just do it.
Okay.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. It's like jumping off a bridge.
Yeah.
It's like jumping into a river off a bridge.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
You just gotta jump off. Now and then.
Do you get nervous like nowadays? Like when you do it, you just flow in.
Nah. Yeah. It's a job now.
Yeah,
it's my job.
Yeah.
You just go in. You do it. You have fun.
Yeah.
I do get nervous every now and then for gigs that are like really high stakes. Like if I'm doing a gala and I'm in front of like 2,500 people, then I get a little bit of the butterflies. Or if I'm doing a set and I know like TV executives are in the room, I get a little bit of butterflies. But 80% of the time I'm fine now. But yeah, there are times I get nervous.
What do you reckon about TV? Do you think like more people watch Netflix comedy shows rather than TV?
TV's dying.
It's dying.
Which is why it's dying, and we all know that, and that's fine. I'm still gonna do it.
How do the TV channels feel about that? Because you work in there.
They're all losing money.
Fuck.
And they're all nervous. Yeah. That's why they're all trying to put their foot into online streaming. That's why TVNZ puts millions of dollars into online streaming so that you can watch all the TV shows that are on TV1 and TV2, you can watch it on TVNZ on demand that day. So they're trying to like be like, no, we do online streaming as well, you know? So
they're just late on the boat.
Hey?
They're just late on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. And honestly, it's shift to what the world is turning into or die, essentially. Yeah. That's what it is.
It's like Netflix, YouTube, HBO, like that's the big names now. Like a lot of the comedy I watch, it was never from TV. It's more like YouTube.
I'm on TV regularly, and my TV's not plugged into the aerial. I haven't watched TV in like 4 years.
What the fuck?
3 or 4 years.
So you're on TV, but
I don't.
Yeah.
I just watch Netflix. I just watch Hulu.
Yeah.
I just watch NBA League Pass. Everything I watch is online.
Yeah.
You know, I don't watch TV anymore. So it's dying, but I think the smart networks will shift tack, and maybe their channel won't go away because there's still an audience for it, but the audience will get smaller and they can still cater to their audience, but they'll probably shift the majority of their resources to online consumption.
How about comedians? Do you reckon they'll just shift, or are they already on these platforms?
Already, man.
Okay.
On the social media and online platforms are everything already. Yeah. Yeah, that's how you maintain your career. Yeah. You build your audience that way. Look at all these people that have never done a gig in their life, but they got 1 million followers because they do like dry balls videos on Facebook, and 1 million people are like, bro, I hate the dry balls video of like, don't you hate it when you're late for work and then some dumb video where some guy's pretending to drive a car and he's like, boing, and then underneath some kid writes skull, dead. Really, bro? Really? You're dead? Really? That's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your entire life, that you're dead? I feel like an old man. One of those old man haters.
Back in my day.
I'm a hater. I feel like a hater right now. But my point is, internet. Even though I don't like that comedy, they're doing it. Yeah. They got their audience. Yeah. They're making money. Good on them. You know.
Where do you see yourself? Like, what's your goal now? Like, where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
I want to stay focused on stand-up. I want to become the best stand-up I can possibly be. I want to be considered at the top of my field, right? And it's going to take a long time, but that's kind of where I see myself, and then everything else is cream. Yeah. Everything else is the cherry on top. Acting gigs, movies, TV shows, all that kind of stuff is the extra on top that I will willingly take and enjoy and use to grow and use to get better and use to learn, you know? But stand-up is my true love that like runs through it all. And stand-up has gotten me everything I have right now, all the opportunities I've had right now. I was on a sitcom, I'm on 7 Days every now and then, I'm doing the gala, that. But stand-up is the thing that got me these things. So I never want to give up on that. Because I feel like that can continually get me more.
Because you might, you know, as a stand-up, when you receive hate, when people are like, "Fuck, you're not funny," like, what do you do in those? Like, fuck.
You can't get caught up in that. Yeah. We live in the internet age. Yeah. We live in the age of the troll. We live in the age of everyone has an opinion now. Yeah. Everyone can say
whatever they want.
When a special came out on TV and you sit in your room and watch it with your family, sit in the living room and watch it with your family, you don't have a forum to tell people that you didn't like it. You watch it, you didn't like it, you did like it, that's it. You move on.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone has a forum to say something, so you can't get caught up in it.
Yeah.
Because just today, I'm doing a gig in Hamilton, and I'm on promo, all my promo material online, right? Mm-hmm. I have 200 people at least that are commenting saying, "Can't wait to go. We think you're really funny. Yo, let's get tickets," tagging their homies. Yo, let's get tickets, this, that. And then one person goes, "I saw him in Sydney. He's not funny." And that is what I focus on. Not the 200 that are positive. I focus on the one that is negative. Yeah. But you have to learn to go, oh, but that's one in... Like, why are you focusing on that? Yeah. Like, focus on the...
It's quite weird how we focus so much on the negative. Yeah. You know, we're doing, this. Yeah. So many people like it. And then one fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, and then you're like, oh, why did you say that?
And that's all you can think about. Yeah. Yeah, you have to train. It's a process of training yourself to have perspective. Yeah. And that perspective is... That comment doesn't really matter. Yeah. It doesn't affect your career that much. It's one in a group of how many that like you. Just move on. But it takes... You got to train your mind to be able to do that. Because I do it. It's so easy to fall into the trap. Get gangster about it. Eh? If I see that person, it's easy to do that. Yeah. But I endeavor to try and let it go quickly.
Do you work on accents, like different accents? Shepherd's pie, mate.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that's the white one is the easiest one. Yeah, the white one's the easiest one. I don't really work on it. I just if I write a joke and I feel like the accent is necessary, then I'll work on it. Yeah. Like if I ever wrote a joke where a South African guy was in the joke, then I'd work on the accent. But I've never had to do that, so I don't worry about it. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't really work on accents. I just work on what is needed for the joke.
Sweet. We'll just move on to quickfire questions.
Just do it.
Sweet. So what would you tell your 16-year-old self?
Forget about girls.
Why?
It's distraction.
Real?
Yeah.
True.
Study. Go play ball more.
Yeah.
Like I was good at
basketball. So were you like chasing girls?
Always.
Real?
Yeah. And I regret it. It was dumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why was it dumb?
It's just it's a waste of time. None of these relationships are gonna last.
That's true.
I'm married to my wife now, and that was the person that I was gonna last. But that's because we were adults at that point. We were mature people. Mm-hmm. When you're 16, you're just like, and be honest with yourself. Like you don't want to be with this chick because you love her personality. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would tell my 16-year-old self to forget about girls in that context, and also, to be honest, if I'm going to be really honest, have more respect for girls. Have more respect for women. I felt like I was very engulfed in the hip-hop culture of like, the swaggy, braggadocious culture of like bragging about girls that you got with and all that kind of stuff. I wish I had more respect for women. And do
you think we still lack that in our society?
Yeah.
It's quite sad, like,
especially you being from like a Muslim background, 100%. Me being from Baha'i background, we come from backgrounds where women are like on a high pedestal. Yeah. And some people go, oh, but why are they covered up? Homie, that's because...
Yeah, that's because of that.
That's because of the major respect we have for women. So you get it, but when you're 16 and you're caught up in the hip-hop culture and the boy, the lads culture, you forget what you're actually taught,
And I've gotten sucked into that as well. Yeah. And sometimes when you're just in that environment, you just badmouth, like... Yeah. It's like...
Yeah. You talk like they're objects. Yeah. And so that's something I would tell my 16-year-old self. Forget about girls in the sense of like trying to get with them, but also try and have more respect, homie.
Yeah. What is, when you think of the word successful, what comes to your mind instantly?
Peace of mind, content, happy. That you
very zen.
Yeah, it's not about money. It's about you've done the things you want to do. Yeah, that's success. Yeah. If I do the things I want to do, but I'm not rich, but I can feed my family, I can pay my bills, I can sustain, and my family's comfortable. Yeah. But I've done the things I want to do. That's success. Yeah. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to be. But like I said, I'm not gonna say no to it. If it comes, it comes. But yeah.
Yeah. What's the impact you want to leave behind?
I want to contribute to the world becoming more united and there being less conflict in all aspects, even little petty conflict like this whole refugee thing. I want my legacy to contribute to the world being more united and more focused on how similar we are, not how different we are. Yeah. That's what I want, and I'm saying it like it's easy. It's way.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's harder.
Yeah.
It's
What I've sort of, because I've interviewed about 8 or 9 people now, and what I've found is that each person that have achieved something significant, they have almost a driving purpose, like a bigger purpose. Bigger than themselves. And I've seen that that's what drives people to these, go through those days where it's just hard, where it's just like, fuck this.
Well, that's the thing, bro. Like, I feel like material things are such a bad motivator. It's not a good motivator because
once you get it, like,
you want more. All you want is more. You don't feel satisfied. You like, it's but here's the thing. You're never going to actually feel joy if material things are your goal. Because the joy that material things fulfills, this is just based on my experience, right? The joy that material things fulfill is so short-lived. You get a nice watch, you get a car, you get this, you get that. You're happy for how long? A week, a month, 6 months, and then it's gone. And then you need something else to fill that void, right? But I've found that now that I've switched my happiness and my content on things that are bigger than that, I feel like I am and will be motivated for much longer, and it's like it's long-term motivation, but along that journey that I'm on, and along that journey where I'm striving to get to this point, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm joyful, and I'm enjoying the process. I'm not scrambling for the next thing. I'm not scrambling for the next chain or the next or Jordans or this or that. Money comes. And money is just the natural byproduct of hard work, but it doesn't control my emotions.
It's like, don't become a slave to material possessions.
Exactly. And it's modern slavery. It's modern age slavery.
That's true.
You die, what do you take with you?
Fuck yeah.
None of it. That's it.
That's true.
It's gone. Imagine you get hit by a car tomorrow. Everything you have is left here. You know what I mean? True. Whether you believe in the next life or not, that doesn't matter.
You're gone.
You're gone.
All your shit's here.
Even if you go to the next life or not, it doesn't matter.
But then we fucking break our asses for those things,
Yeah, I know.
For a certain extent, I like the stuff, but I don't let that control me. Don't let that be the metric of how I measure my life. And that's one of have you heard of the art, the subtle art of not giving a fuck?
Yeah, I've heard it. I haven't read it yet.
So that's what he talks about. It's like, what's the metric you measure your life on? Some people, their metric is how many likes I get, how many followers. Some people's metric is how much money I have. Some people's metric is how many people can I contribute to. And that's like, you're on that next level.
And my question is, which metric is going to give you real, long-lasting joy that doesn't require physical things to fill the hole? You know what I mean? That's my question. And I also want to be really careful in what I say, because I also don't want to make people feel like if you're out there hustling to feed your family, pay your bills, buy a house, and get out of a bad situation so you can be in a more comfortable situation, that is very admirable.
Oh, fuck yeah. 100%.
That is amazing.
100%.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think I'm saying, forget about money. Money doesn't matter. I'm not saying that. Money matters.
Well, it's an interesting thing, because there's a study done by the person who studied flow states, happiness. So he found that there's a correlation between happiness and the amount of money you earn.
Yes.
But it stops.
Yes.
45,000.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't correlate any further.
That's very interesting.
It's like, you can be, because like people that are living like 10K, like fuck, money is the next
you're
thing.
Grinding, you're struggling.
But then when you do have money, getting, a few more
going from 45K to 100K doesn't necessarily increase your happiness.
Which is weird, because then we just aspire. It's like we see it as a constant, linear curve.
Yeah.
The more we have, the higher happiness we are.
But I can see how money can generate happiness, but I cannot get around the idea that happiness is temporary. I cannot let go of the idea that, it can buy you happiness, but that happiness only lasts so long. Yeah. Real happiness is the people in your house that love you, your children, your family, your values, your ideals, your the fact that you're contributing to something bigger, seeing that you help people. Just little things, helping someone who seems like they're struggling to put groceries in there. Little things, helping people.
And those are the things that matters, bro. Like, it fucking brings your heart, like genuinely contributing, no, nothing for you. You genuinely do it, and you're like, fuck, man. Like, that was a cool thing, and you think about it.
The fulfillment.
The fulfillment.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins talks about, it's like, people chase achievement without fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then they're in that, they could be fucking...
empty.
Yeah, they could be millionaires. They could have all this shit. Yeah. But then if you don't really feel fulfilled, it's like, what else is there? Yeah. Fuck, man, it's been mean to have you on this podcast. No, where can people find you, actually?
They can find me on Facebook, Pax Assadi Comic. Mm-hmm. They can find me on Instagram, it's just Pax Assadi, at Pax Assadi. You can find me on Twitter, at Pax Assadi. Yeah. And you can find me on YouTube. There's some clips on YouTube if you just search Pax Assadi. Yeah. My website. Yeah.
Really appreciate your time and effort, man. This has been such a cool interview. Really loved it, man.
No, I also you being 18 and out here doing this, I really commend it, bro. I think
appreciate it.